No, we're not, because I forgot to put the intro on. So this is what you call improv. This is what you call improv. Straight in there. No front video. Welcome to the chaos of the world.
That's fun. I like it.
I'm so tired. I was like, I was watching you and I'm like, Daisy's gonna click it? Is he gonna click it? All right, well, I guess he's not gonna click it. It's all good.
I had something to click, but as you saw very quickly, it's a wrong front video. So here we are, people.
All right.
Hegemony Revealed, number 10, Trina and Sahana.
Wow.
Double digit. What a journey. What a journey in the last 9 episodes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And welcome, everybody. And if you haven't seen it, I posted, we have a podcast on Spotify and various other places now, version of Hegemony Revealed. So you can go listen to the previous episodes. And it's kind of cool just listening to the episodes, right?
It's how have you found it, Sahana? I found you hear and pick up on different things when you listen back on the.
Yep. So your focus is completely on the tone and what is said, what is unsaid, and the words. So it's really a different experience when you're not watching expressions and body language and hand movements. It's amazing. It's very different.
Yeah. So I highly recommend everybody go back and listen. So I'm off the bat. I'm just like totally tired and slow today, which is not my normal. So you'll have to forgive me. I think I might be coming down with something, or am I just overwhelmed with the lunacy of what's happening in the world right now? Honestly, I can't tell between the two.
Yep.
It's just an energetic low right now. So I'm gonna pass it to Garry to kind of like get started on it. You came up, you shared some interesting information with me and Sahana earlier today, and so I would love for you to kind of explain some background on that, because it's just more craziness.
more craziness. So a bit of context. So I'm just going to open up a little bit today, and thank you for that, Trina and Sahana. So I've been reading a book. So anybody watching this live or watching this back, The Big Con. This is a subtext that I've never seen in a Western book before. How the consulting industry, an emphasis on big consulting. We're not talking about boutique or individuals. We're on about big consultancy, the big four, the big three. How the consulting industry weakens our businesses, infantiles our governments, and warps our economies. That's written by 2 researchers, academics based in the global north, in Europe. And I just found it really interesting in the first instance to see something so bold and courageous coming out of the West. Point number 1, interesting. So there's a real sort of counter-hegemony energy, which I found interesting. But what I'm going to do just quickly to set the scene for today, I'm going to share my screen, and I just want to share a couple of quotes just to set us up today around what's actually come out of, if I can get it to work, trying to share my pictures, some of the quotes that have been shared as part of this incredible exploration. So let me try and just find it here. Here we go. Hopefully you can see this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just think about this, people. We just think about consultants, business, governments. Yeah, we vote. We hopefully get people in that we can respect, and they're going to look after our needs, etc. Have we ever thought about it? That the system, the hegemonic systems that have perpetuated so much harm and division for so long, are truly by design, right? It's very easy to talk about this has been designed intentionally. It goes back to colonialism and colonization 500 years ago. No, today, July the 12th, 2023, we have got multinational organizations that exist for the sole purpose of reducing the capability of our governments to serve us so that the money can go into the hands of the few.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's truly criminal. It's truly criminal. And psychotic. I can't. It's. We talk about this all the time, but what's wrong with these people? What? How is this a positive end game? How is this sustainable? How is this going to affect even their ancestors? Do they have any concept of humanity?
So I think most of the multinationals today and the economy stemming from, the Chicago School of Economics and driven by Wall Street, IMF, World Bank, and we know the bodies, we know the purpose, and we know the consulting firms boosting and propping them up are there for the sole purpose, like Gary said, to channelize the resources, quote unquote resources, of the entire planet and human labor and time and everything in between into the hands of a few extremely psychopathic and sociopathic individuals, mostly white men. Gary, no offense meant, but mostly white men
Mm-hmm.
who are so starved for power and who are so caught in the lust for greed and privilege and power over anything and everything on this planet that they cannot dream of an existence without that soul, without control over everything in this life. So if you see the whole Chicago School of Economics, they've come down to just this few agencies who sort of perpetuate it like tentacles of an octopus going out, reaching out to different corporates who are, of course, in cahoots with them so
Yeah.
that the money keeps flowing to the top, everything flows to the
Mm-hmm.
top, and all the negativities, the externalities flows to the society and the rest of the people flows down. So basically, you remove the slice of the top, remove those people, put them in a capsule and send them out of this planet, the planet will heal. The
Spot
planet will
on.
heal.
Spot on. They need to go. Just
They need to go. They need to
just
leave the planet.
yeah, get in your spaceship, whatever, the
Yeah,
one you
with
came,
Elon
yeah,
Musk, take Elon
yeah,
Musk with you and the spaceship and go.
yeah, yeah, the one you
The
came
planet
in,
heals.
take it back out.
And maybe they could take the big consulting firms with them to set up colonies in Mars or wherever. I don't know.
Well, that's the plan, right? I think
Yeah, let them go.
that's yeah.
So
Goodbye.
it's the planet heals. I mean, it's just 8 billion people who will heal. Take off those top, whatever, 5,000, 10,000 folks. So
Mm.
basically, it's a plan. It's propagated. It's a propaganda machine.
And
I,
it's perpetuating so many problems.
Yeah,
Climate,
yeah, yeah.
climate problems. You know, it's like they were a bunch of spoiled children that didn't have never thought of the consequences of their behavior, even on their own lives. You know,
mm,
the suicidal raccoons is what I call them.
And no
You
one is
know,
giving a rap on their knuckles, and no one is giving them the thrashing they deserve. So they just,
they keep going.
because, yeah, because right now, it's like money equals success equals power equals privilege.
Hmm.
it's, if I may, I want to come back to this one just for a brief moment for people, because again, this is not a conspiracy theory. The three of us aren't making this up. This is a very well researched book on the practicalities of the hegemonic systems that are collapsing all around us, right? Rightly. Look at this quote from the book. for I added the so-called, by the way, because most developing countries are way more developed than us in the West. We know that in terms of mindset. But this point, a developing country, Guinea-Bissau, as part of their loan from the World Bank, had a condition to use consultants as part of their development. Like, this is what we need to be talking about. I really like, this is my day job in my corporate space. Again, we're not blaming anybody, right? But I just find this so irritating that this clarity is available to us now. And I just really love both of you and us for doing what we're doing, just to surface this and say, hey, are we really looking, rather than worrying about, whoever's on Love Island or what's happening with Boris Johnson in the UK? That's all misdirection to stop us understanding this, right?
Absolutely. It's disinformation. It's constant disinformation. It's the constant distraction on peripheral things and on media and TV. And, media is just a tool to divert our attentions away from this stuff, from this the real things that are happening, the real undermining of our rights, even this AI attempts. It's just a connection to individual powers, seven big family hubs, or legacy families who come up with stuff to keep themselves empowered. I mean, the IMF and the World Bank, they only came into existence in the 1940s, and that was after the war. And they did it because they said, okay, we bombed the hell out of these countries. We've established the Monroe Doctrine, and now we're going to just suck the life out of every country in the world. And the Berlin conference was for Africa. And what really blows my mind is how the leaders of these other countries, mostly males, always throw their people under the bus, don't think about the long-term future of the people. Why are kids working in cobalt mines? Where is the legacy of greatness? They have completely fallen to their knees in obedience to external entities, drank the lies and the Kool-Aid. And I see African nations trying to turn around, but like Lumumba, when he tried to say no more, he got assassinated he was assassinated by his own people. Gaddafi, Libya has billions of dollars still holding illegally in banks, frozen, that could be going back for the country because they say so. The banking industry, it's just been one Ponzi scheme after another. We'll give you all this money. You talk about mafia tactics. We'll give you this money, but you have to agree to this terms. I know this money is to feed your people and to build infrastructure and to quote unquote compete with the West. But they're never going to let it get to the point where they can actually compete. Or not even, it doesn't even have to be a competition. I don't even like that. How about just be self-sufficient and survive? Most of these different countries, these third world countries, can grow so much more than the opportunity they are given to grow. And if they are given that opportunity to grow crops, business, tech, whatever, the expectation is that you cannot get as big and powerful as Big Brother. So they always have to get pushed down. And if they start rising up, the leader is assassinated because he's not playing by the ball, or is displaced because he's not playing ball. or something in the media. I can take this from the macro all the way to the micro level of our existence and how these tactics are done towards oppression. You know,
and
even yeah,
and the
even
whole thing is stage managed in such a way through universities, through think
mm,
tanks, through so-called think tanks, quote unquote. They're just another, through the greenwashing, through the whitewashing, through every color washing. It is stage managed in such a way that you have this, this coating of, oh, we are doing good, we are doing this, we are doing that, we are impacting. And then you have these layers of extortion and expropriation and extractions, all hidden under that stage managed whitewash.
mm,
I mean, look at the climate deniers, look at those think tanks literally created to say nothing is happening to the climate, it's all fine. Never mind if the world is literally falling apart. Even anyone with the brains of a pigeon can see the world falling apart. But no, nothing is happening. And then when if it's fallen apart, you have a few. Uh, I don't even know how to phrase this. You have these few puerile statements coming. Oh
mm,
yes, we need to do something.
mm,
Oh yes, it has to be kept under 2 degrees, knowing very well it won't be, knowing
mhm,
very well that the entire Antarctic ice sheets are simply vanishing, knowing very well. I mean, what are they even thinking? The point is, we might say whatever, the system was created, but it didn't appear out of thin air. It was created, it was man made by design, deliberate design of. Like Trina, I'm at a loss for words to even articulate the amount of devastation this deliberate designing of malice can cause. Okay, so if we can't march into a country and colonize it, if we have to vacate the country, we'll make sure every bit of wealth of the country still flows back to us
mhm,
and still flows back to a handful at the top. And at the
mm,
top now, of course, are globally spread. They can be of any color, but they are still at the top and they're still a handful who are in cahoots. It sounds almost like a mafia theory, but that's exactly what's happening. We have these gangs of mafia minded, psychopathic, and sociopathic leaders, quote unquote leaders, misuse of the word leaders, but people just thriving on
chaos.
thriving on chaos.
Yeah.
And the more the chaos, better for them. The more the confusion, better. The more despairing people are, the less time they have to think.
Mhm,
Thinking and reflecting and creativity are being made a luxury because they can give rise to resistance.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you're so overwhelmed, like you said, Trina, so tired, so overwhelmed, so under pressure just to earn your daily bread, who is going to be imaginative and creative and see beyond the obvious? I have to feed my family.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the point of it because there's before the, it's only been 3,000 years that the patriarchal system has been in place. Okay, and this type of ruling of people in the world, and we've been how long? What's the number? They keep changing it in archaeology. How old are human beings? Or
Let's
uh,
say 3 billion,
yeah,
3 million, whatever.
yeah, we've been here and existing for millennia in a different system, and the planet was thriving. We didn't have 50% of the wildlife dead. You know, um, it's obvious. And I want to, since we're talking about this, I posted about the climate crisis linked to the rising of domestic abuse
Yes. Yes,
in
I read it.
South Asia.
Mhm.
Yeah. And of course, because you've got also, I responded to somebody. I said, imagine if patriarchy would not perpetuate the myths around manhood, how different this would be. You
Mhm.
know, because why is it that a man feels frustrated because he can't survive, so he goes home and he beats his wife and his children? Because there's this unhealthy, unrealistic pressure around what manhood means and what survival means, and you're not doing your job. But how much of that is in the control of the man? But he still takes his frustration and anger out on the vulnerable and the people he's supposed to love. They're supposed to quote unquote love, you know. And I just said the lack of emotional intelligence and the mediocrity of the founding families have created a world based on greed, barbarism, and we have not evolved out of our baser instincts to create a civilization worth saving. We keep turning to technology to evolve, but those in power are still unevolved in their reasoning. So the fall and rise continue with very little learned because they keep burying the truth of the past to maintain control. Tech is not going to save us when the programmers are still monsters and lack emotional intelligence.
Yep.
Well, I think the thing that comes up so powerfully, Trina, as you share that, and your writing as well, Shahana. I just want to give that a little plug as well. I think it's just around the wayfinders. What I think so powerful is it can feel so pointless, right? It can feel so, why do I bother? Like there's nothing I can do. But I think the invitation we're trying to do through Hegemony Revealed is actually to say no. There's a lot of power within you. There's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of possibility. But it's stuffed so far under this conditioning of you'll be okay when, or if I get the next thing, or if I need to follow that bit of news, right? So I think for me, what's so powerful around what we're doing together here, and hopefully you're getting that if you're watching live or watching this back, is it's a remembering. And I've got to honor my friend Helen Amory, who, because I had a podcast called Activating Consciousness, and they said brilliantly, I think it's less activating and more remembering.
Yeah.
It's a real remembering that we are already enough. We are already connected. We are already part of nature. We are already creative. We are already good enough, and we've just not been allowed to remember that for 600 years, right?
Yep. Yep.
Longer than that, longer than that. We've been just, well, yeah. Um,
I mean, look
and
at if you walk. Sorry, Trina. Go ahead.
no, no, no,
No, no.
no
Finish your
problem.
point.
No,
Finish your point.
I was just going to say, it's just that if you look to the Aboriginal people, the Native people, the wise people of this world, I've been watching a lot of Navajo um, history lately. Every civilization talks about our origin, where we're from, and every Aboriginal group, there was a concerted effort because they were orators. They didn't write down history. Westerners are the only ones that really wrote down historical, and I ain't going to call it facts, historical books to just explain things. That's not how it usually was done. So they took out all of the orators who would pass the stories and the wisdom generation to generation down. But it's still encoded in our DNA, those memories, because I love that part about remembering. It's always going to be there. It's just that everything externally is put into place to call those people remembering crazy,
Yeah.
unstable. That's
Yeah.
madness. They take them out. Look at Tesla. They took them out. Okay? Gone. one of the biggest and most important things that could have advanced civilization was taken out by big oil. Free
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah. Of course. And and if you walk into any big corporate, look at how, to quote unquote again, leaders, because I hate using the leader in conjunction with people who are currently leaders. They are not. They are just brokers passing on money from to make shareholders or whoever they have to pass it on to. They're
Mm-hmm.
basically brokers. But look at what happens. You walk in and you're conditioned into becoming ruthless, competitive, so-called strategic, which equals actually cunning. In that world, strategic means
Manipulation.
manipulative, aggressive, assertive to the point of arrogance. And those are then feated as, oh, wow, what a strong leader. I mean, obnoxious people. You've turned living human beings with possibly human capacities into obnoxious creatures
You're
and
turning them to
brokers for the
predators.
rich. Yeah, they
Predators.
have become predators and brokers for the rich and whoever they are doing the brokery in the name of. And then you put them in positions of power and you say, hey, you're now the leader, you're now the CEO, you're now this and you're now that, and you're answerable to this, whatever. And this is the kind of pay package you'll get and the bonus you'll get. And if your share price increase, this is what you'll get, and this is what you have to do. If you get share buybacks and do whatever it has to be done to grow the money for this handful. Rest of the world and this organization can go to hell in a handbasket.
Mm.
And every time leaders, true, genuine, authentic people who have tried to step aside, who have tried to do things differently, have not been allowed, mostly in most cases. Exceptions exist, but in most cases they have not been allowed to hold the reins of power, again in quotes, because then the the predatory nature will change and the organization will then evolve to be what it is meant to be, a living, thriving ecosystem of people intentionally gathered to build whatever they are meant to build. But now you have so much of this aggression dripping downward that what ends up happening is you have manipulated, fearful, suppressed, and oppressed human beings doing what doing what they must just to put bread on the table. So you
Yeah.
are creating a dead system inside, and those same human beings, lacking sovereignty and agency inside, when they step out, can't even be good citizens because they've lost their agency, they've lost their inner power, they've
Uh,
lost their inner wherewithal to take up. They've you're basically killing the human spirit.
Oh, Sahana, that really hit me hard because that is such a personal journey of mine the last 9, 10 years. That remembering actually that we have got a soul, a spirit. Like, I call it. I work in a corporate still, and it does suffer from a lot of what we're describing today. Like it's a symptom of an already dead system,
Yeah, yeah,
and the collapse that's underway in the West is the necessary decaying of that system. No matter how messy, no matter how ugly it is, and it's going to continue to be for a while. But like this, I'm trying to hold. It's not even hope; it's the reality of systemic change, right? Like this
mhm.
collapse is happening because it has to happen. It has to go back to nature. Like it has to.
It's because it never was sustainable. It's this type of trauma that we're all daily experiencing is breaks the spirit, breaks the mind. You know, I had a conversation with someone about the use of media, and listening because I barely have time to read um, um, the multiple books I'm trying to read. But currently, I'm listening to a really great one, really detailing how um, they use manipulation of the media. It's called the Manufacturing Consent, and it's by Edward S. Herman and Noam Chomsky. And it basically details and lays out how the media and the main news sources and outlets use uh, manipulation and coercion and gaslighting and blatant lies to get the masses to consent to their own hegemonic oppression.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, what is the crazy part about what you just said, both of you, is that most of us are so unaware or incoherent that this trauma and this abuse is happening to us. We have, like you said, raised up really psychotic, psychopathic leaders as our goalpost, you know, of how to make it and how to be a good person, or successful person. It has nothing to do with good.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's actually just so um, depressing how
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
how much we've praised narcissism. You know.
And I mean, think of a corporate. Imagine when people walk in, they could walk in fearlessly, knowing that, yes, I'm not talking about hierarchy. Certain hierarchies will exist in a way, natural hierarchies of experience, of knowledge, of just being in that industry, in that sector, in that division. So, someone, say, who's 45 and has got 20 years of experience can mentor, guide someone
Mm,
else who's just entered. That's obvious, and that's the way it should be. Intergenerational mentoring. But when people get a job, the whole process is like, it's like this fearful process of navigating this entire, it's like navigating a fearsome jungle where you are going to be gobbled up at any moment and you may not reach the end because of all the, I mean, whatever the interviews and whatever they are, the process. And then you have to know how to negotiate for a rightful pay for what is right, because otherwise you'll just be doled out shit. So negotiation. So where all, I mean, you create an organization, you invite people to be inspired with potential and creativity to come and build it together. And why should that whole process become so very painful, so very filled with unequal information? Because
mm.
they'll ask you things like, at least in India, what was your last pay? And I was like, how
Mm-hmm.
does that even matter to you?
Yeah.
Why?
Why you asking?
Why? I mean, what's your CEO's pay? Please tell me. I'll tell you my last pay. What's your pay? Tell me. I'll tell you mine. I mean,
And
why should it even
as women,
ask?
are you
Uh,
planning to have children? Are you married?
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, of
What does
course.
that have to do
And
with my ability and my intellect and or anything?
absolutely. And so, if you look at this whole navigation journey, it is deliberately designed to cause so much distress that by the end of it, you realize, and of course we've all made the journeys, we've all, at least I've been, you have been in corporates, Gary,
I
and
have
we
been.
know
I've been in
how
corporate too.
little, yes, three of us have been, and we know how little that journey, that deliberate pain created, has to do anything with the potential of the individual, with the reality of the world, it is totally unrequired.
Hmm.
That
Mhm.
entire mental stress is not even needed. So you create that power imbalance right at the start. And so the person who's going to as a job seeker is immediately put at a disadvantage,
Mhm.
and you feel the organization is more powerful just because you're
Mhm.
drawing a pay. I mean, come on.
It's
They're
all
taking
pressure.
out
It's all
look at
pressure.
the whole system created.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know organizations where if the CEO vanished for 6 months, it would run much better. But you take away the bottom line, you take away the front
Woo!
line, take away the front line, the organization will collapse. Take away all
Less
the
stress.
Walmart stockists.
So
Yeah.
true.
Less stress. Go on
What is
vacation. Bye.
uh, go on vacation, please, and buy an island and stay there.
Do you know what the wild thing is, Shahan? I've got to come in on this. The wild thing is, I remember whatever your view of Russell Brand is.
Yeah.
I'm more than like him, although he can be a bit annoying. But so
Who
can
is
I.
Russell Brand? I don't
So can
know.
I. He's a comedian in
Virgin.
the
Who?
UK.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That guy.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
hilarious.
yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah. He's very good, very disruptive.
Okay.
But one of the things he did a report on a while back, which was very interesting, was on the therapists to billionaires.
Mm.
Right? This is the
Mhm.
bit that does not again get put in the media. These people are literally suffering under the weight of their own hubris and fear and anxiety, and that's the same thing that fuels the business models. And you're just like, you're literally committing suicide and abuse to yourself while you're still alive. Like it's the
Mhm.
most bizarre thing. Like it's the thing that it's just like, really? So you could actually allow yourself, billionaire and CEOs, to be happier, feel more alive, feel more connected to yourself, nature, those around you. But because you've not done your inner work, back to Trina's point, because you're not prepared to feel and you want to live above the neck, billions of other people have got to suffer. And you're like, seriously? That's a really crap equation.
I mean, you really wonder after a point that we create psychopathic system after system after system without, and this whole thing is, it's like this whole it's like dripping down of poison downward in various forms.
Mhm.
The whole system is set up in such a way that it completely drains the life out of people, and you want their creativity, you want their innovation, you want their potential, but you're stripping them away of their spirit and agency and sovereignty, and then you're saying, hey, be creative, guys. Awesome. I mean, amazing.
There's so I liken them to the succubus, the alien. I've been working on a novel for a little bit, and the whole corporate structure and the whole political structure is my inspiration. I tried to explain throughout the story who the Republicans represent, who the Democrats represent, who the Green Party, who, corporate structure and all this stuff, and it's interesting because we got a billion movies out there like that, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
and 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 so this one energy worker, um, we were discussing karma and how karma works. And we keep saying, oh, yeah, karma is going to come. But karma is about deliberately deceiving by holding information or doing something harmful to someone without their consent. They somehow, the hegemony has figured out how to lay it all out there via movies, television, media, their intent. They lay it out there and call it imagination. And then there's no karmic retribution. We told you. It's all
yeah.
here. It's all here. We've been giving you the information of the future for the last 50 years. Movies, If you think about it,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
their plan has been laid out in front of
Yep.
us in the entire time, but we were thinking it was made up. We were thinking, oh, nobody would ever behave like the American Psycho was that guy in that movie. Nobody would ever
Wow.
behave like that. But is it inspiration or is it information?
Yep.
Because
Absolutely.
because let me tell you, what you put up, what you seed, what you plant grows. So which one is it? Are they feeding us their intent, or they're giving us inspiration to create our own suffering? You know, it's it's that lack of awareness, self-awareness. It's that lack of self-knowledge, and we talk about it every time. The disconnect, the forgetting of who
Yeah.
we really are. That's
And
making us just like clay.
and the whole myth perpetuated of, like you said a while back, Trina, about what manhood is all about. The whole concept, that concept itself, that whole concept around
Mm,
being a man has become so toxic to the men and to the rest of the planet. Because everywhere you go, being successful, being a man and a successful man and being in positions of power have been driven to this thing of, glorified achievement, that
mhm,
anyone who is compassionate, who is kind, is either, you know, how compassionate, kind boys are treated. We
mm,
know how empathetic boys are treated. We
mhm.
know how boys who care about nature and their little sisters are treated. So constantly, it's almost like deliberately you are making half the 8 billion, 4 billion men, give and take a few millions here and there, billion, deliberately turning them into these predatory monsters through little drips of feeding right from babyhood. Be a
Mhm.
man, don't cry. Be a man, don't
Mm.
complain about being bullied. Be a man, go back and fight with them, or whatever nonsense is told to these tiny
Be a
youngsters.
man, give your life for a cause or a country that you do not benefit from. Die,
Absolutely. And
die for us.
and then if you are in a certain segment, then you have to be successful, follow in your father's footsteps, or
Mhm.
blah blah, whoever, God knows. But be a man, and that being a man has driven 4 billion into toxic predatory mode, and those who have protested have fallen off the grid a bit. They have fallen off the matrix of whatever. And
Mm,
then those are sucking the life out of the rest, because being a man is being all of these things: assertive and
mhm,
arrogant and predatory and competitive and cunning and manipulative and doing, God knows, fist bumps and whatnot. I don't
mm.
know. I mean,
What is
some
manhood?
weird, what is
What
manhood?
is
What is this
what what
weird
is it? Yeah,
construction of,
I I I am. You
it's
know,
it's
I was.
horrible.
It's horrible as a
It's
mother too of a
yeah,
boy.
yeah, yeah,
It's terrifying for me because I remember and I know how he came out of my womb.
yeah,
I know
yeah,
what he was like, soft, gentle, sweet. And then I made the mistake to send him to a school. And the trauma began from that point on.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He couldn't be himself. He couldn't express compassion because those are the things I was teaching him at home.
Mhm.
This is how to be a good person. You know, stand up to the bully, stand up for people who are getting pushed around and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden he's the target.
yeah, yeah,
And then I've got to peel off constant layers of social media, YouTube, and all this stuff that Andrew Tate's of the world, and this and this and this and this, and sex, 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 sex. I don't have a problem with sex. I have a problem of the perpetuation of it and the violence that's been attached
Yeah.
to it, rather than a beautiful connection of with another human being.
Human.
I don't even care about your gender. It's about
Yep.
love and,
Yep.
and connection. So I'm constantly having to pull back these toxic messaging and then deal with the
Yeah.
father
Yeah.
who's got all that toxic messaging saying, you know what,
So,
he needs his father. Does he need toxicity? Does he need to be taught adultery? Does he need to be taught all of these things that lead to the man you became? Pain, pain, and hurt, and insecurity. My main goal is to raise a confident human being. You can call it a man, you can call it a female, you can call it whatever you want, but that's just a mask,
a label.
a
That's a
label.
label.
And so if he loves the essence of who he is, then he'll be okay with anybody. But if you don't love who you are and you have no idea who that is, you're going to go out and put your pain on everyone else. And
Precisely.
that's where we are.
Yep. Yep. I mean, how did these toxic concepts even ever become this mainstream idea of what manhood is about? And look at what is happening to the planet today just because a few concepts have been perpetuated. Manhood, the power of the market economy, free trade, neoliberalism. I mean, combine it all together and you will see that it's just the all part of the same propagation of
Divide and conquer,
abs-
Shahana.
absolutely destructive power and divided control just started by a few, and it's
That's where
gone
it
on.
came from. It's gone
Yep.
on for too long.
Do you know what's most wild though, Trina and Shahana? And I say I am still in a corporate space, and I'm not just speaking about my employer. I'm speaking about the industry, chemicals,
Yep.
energy, big business, capitalism, as my realization on our previous conversation.
Mhm.
Despite everything we're saying, despite the evidence that's out there as to this is actually where we are, the conversations in the office are still, how do we acquire a company? How do we grow double digit? How do we do that? It's all the same corporate BS that comes back to your point you both just made, which is you don't know who you are on the inside, so you don't feel comfortable enough to have that conversation to go, hey, this doesn't make sense to me anymore.
Yeah. That guy who owns Gravity.
Oh yeah,
Gra-
Dan Price.
yeah. They said he was going to fail. But guess what? He's doing great. His company, and the minimum salary, the minimum wage is 70,000 US dollars a year for every employee that walks into the door. And he's still around. But the media and the news said, "Oh, he's going to fail." They were perpetuating, he's going to fail, he's going to fail. But when you work for a company that actually cares whether you eat, and if you have a roof over your head, and if your kids can get their needs met, and you can get your, guess what? You're productive as hell, you know? And it's such a simple concept, but why do they refuse? We should all have a living stipend. Every person on the planet should have a living stipend where we don't need to worry about how we're going to eat, what we're going to drink, where we're going to sleep, nothing. Then we can create, then we can be
Absolutely.
productive. So,
and the
mm,
entire BS around, the whenever you question, oh, the billionaires and the capital accumulation, and whenever you raise doubt, it's this: they were hardworking, they are intelligent, they are bullshit. They have just extracted the hell out of the resource on the planet.
they ain't
They have simply
come up with shit. They just stole
they've just
everything. That's all.
exploited every. I know they just happen to be good at stealing and robbing and exploitation. They have raped the planet, plundered the people, and that's how they have the wealth they have.
If we get into the history of how African Americans actually built the United States and created most of the technology, it'll blow your mind. But
Absolutely.
it's crazy. It's madness, and this is why they don't want. This is why they hide the history. This is why they ban the books, and this is
Or
the
they
begin. This is fascism, and
and
this
they
is
actively go and assassinate anyone who dares to try and bring equity back.
right.
Because equity and comfortable people and confident people are not going to bow in obedience.
No,
They will not do a Heil Hitler if you are contented and comfortable. You are not going to. They need fearful, desperate people
yeah,
so that they can keep extracting. They have to make us fearful. So anyone who is not has to be put down, shot down, assassinated, chopped into bits and pieces, like
yeah,
Lamumba was.
I know. Anyways, guys, we got into this one.
Ah,
Do,
It's
okay.
do you
51
know?
minutes, man.
Do you know? I get the feeling though. I don't know about both of you. I feel like we needed that with this virtual community today. I felt this energy this week. I'll be honest.
Oh yeah,
I felt pretty angry this week.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, me too. Today, I almost bowed out of this podcast because I was like, "Ooh, I'm just, I'm angry right now." This energy, and that's not what I want to give out to people in this audience. But I'm so grateful for you two because I was able to reach to change the resonance just having
Mm.
this conversation. I was able to say, "Okay, I can speak my truth." Without feeling this sadness. You
Yeah.
know, I was sad this last couple of days, and thank you. I
Thank
appreciate you
you.
too.
And and sometimes angry is good.
Mhm.
Angry
Exactly,
is the energy that is required to step forth. We have to get angry and turn that anger into what we are doing.
exactly.
Angry is good.
Yes, and it's a just another signpost that a change needs to happen.
Yes,
It's
yes.
what that's all it is. So
Thank you. Thank you,
yeah,
Trina. Thank you, Garry.
yeah.
Thank you both, and thanks anyone that watched us live or popped along. We're going to have a very snazzy video at the beginning and the end of the next one.
We
but,
just happen to forget
it's
it.
but on this occasion, full ownership. As I say, it's been a bit of a volatile few days, but I'm gonna own it. I just forgot. So for the next one in a couple of weeks' time, we'll have a nice little snazzy video. But till then, it's going to be a nice, simple bowing out gracefully. Thank you, Trina, Sahana. Appreciate you both very much. Thank you all out there. If you've watched us, we'd love to get your feedback. Do you want to be a guest on one of the future dialogues? It feels like stuff's happening, right? It feels like stuff's happening, and we're here for that. We're here to navigate that together. And take care, everyone. Much love, one and all.
Bye.
Bye.